So before going into the topic of flow through variable area ducts, it is mandatory to know the stagnation property of the fluid. So stagnation property of the fluid, it is the concept both from aerodynamics as well as thermodynamics. So if you recall the definition or a formula, H equals to U plus P by rho, where H is specific enthalpy, U is specific internal energy, and P by rho is the flow energy, or we can say pressure energy. So if you take this formula and if you apply it for high speed flows or compressible flows, for a flow, if you are considering 2 points, let us say 1 and 2, two locations, if you are considering, and we can apply this formula in such a way that if you are if you are not adding any energy or you are not extracting any energy from the flow between these two locations, 1 and 2 locations. So let us say at location 1 energy is 1 and at location 2 energy is 2, or simply we can say energy in equals to energy out. That means in between location 1 and 2 we are neither adding energy nor removing energy. So in any form, it may be in any form. So whatever the flow comes and just simply goes away. But here, because of the variable area duct, the properties may change. Okay, the properties are changing because of the change caused by the flow which is flowing through variable area duct, but not by any external source. That means the condition applies neither adding energy nor removing energy. So if this is the condition, then you can use the formula, the one-dimensional energy equation, H1 plus V1 square by 2 equals to H2 plus Vt square by 2. Provided condition, energy in equals to energy out. Okay, and now since at 2 points the energy levels are same, so let us say the stagnation enthalpy H0 is the same. Stagnation enthalpy, unless until there are no losses and there is no addition or removal of energy, then stagnation enthalpy remains the same. So here I will say simply H01 equals to H02. Okay, so this is the basic introduction that I can give you at this point of time. Stagnation enthalpy, simply we can write it as H0. Okay, and this H0, we have a formula here, H0 equals to H V square by 2. This formula came. So that we will see now here. What is stagnation enthalpy actually is? Stagnation, as the word itself indicates, stagnating. Somewhere the flow is stagnating in the sense its velocity becomes 0. So it's the flow molecules are completely stopped, stagnated. So here, if in this consideration, if you take a steady process, a steady flow, okay, and if the for that steady flow, if you are bringing the fluid molecules velocity adiabatically to 0 at location 2, so we have considered location 1 and location 2. Still I am sticking to the condition energy in equals to energy out. Okay, that's why I'm using the word adiabatically. So adiabatically means neither energy is added nor energy is extracted in any form. Generally we use in thermodynamics as neither heat is added nor removed, but here I'm saying simply neither energy is added nor removed. So sticking to the same principle, if I bring at location 2 the velocity of the fluid molecules adiabatically to 0, then whatever the energy contained by the fluid molecules at location 2, I can rewrite the one-dimensional energy equation formula. Since V2 has gone to 0, so we will be left over with H2 only. So H1 plus V1 square by 2 equals to H2, and this at location 2, whatever the energy contained by the entire fluid molecules is, you can say, stagnation enthalpy energy. It is in the form of stagnation enthalpy. That's why I'm representing with H02 at location 2 it is happening, so I'm representing with H02. So therefore H0 represents the enthalpy of a fluid when it is brought to rest adiabatically. So condition very clear, it should be brought down adiabatically. And during a stagnation process, so since we are suddenly bringing the velocity to 0, so what happens? So best example I always gives to many batch of students that you just stretch your hand through a window out of a moving train. Okay, so which is not going very fast, for safer side, let us say. Okay, so suddenly you will feel a force on your palm. So why you are getting force on your palm? Because the fast moving air molecules, are suddenly get stuck to your palm. Your palm is acting as a obstacle, and it is suddenly stopping the fluid molecules velocity. So on the palm of your hand, all the velocity of the fluid molecules becoming zero. And what is happening to this kinetic energy? So since you made kinetic energy as zero, all the total energy will be present only in one form, that is pressure energy. Since we are talking about train example, I am not saying the train is going beyond compressible velocity. Suppose if it is in the compressible velocity range, then automatically when you stop the flow, all the kinetic energy will be converted into heat energy as well, along with the pressure energy. Okay, so since we are talking about an in this example I'm talking about an incompressible flow, so what happened, all the velocity is converted into pressure energy, and this pressure energy, so we know that pressure into area is equals to the force. This is the force. So what is the pressure acting on your palm into your palm area is the amount of force with which your hand is thrown away in the direction of wind. So this is the best example I can say. So whenever you are suddenly stopping a fluid molecule adiabatically, all its kinetic energy is converted into pressure energy. And now at this point of time, whatever the properties we are that fluid molecule is having, we are calling it as stagnation properties. And these properties are always represented by naught symbol, H naught, like that, stagnation enthalpy, with a subscript either in O or 0. So the term H naught is called stagnation enthalpy, and it is the enthalpy of the fluid attains when brought to rest adiabatically. So very, very important. The fluid should be brought to rest adiabatically. You should not add any energy, or you should not remove any energy. And suppose if the entire process happens in an isentropic way, that means if it is happening without any involvement of diffusion or friction, that means if it is a reversible process, and then this stagnation state, you can also call it as isentropic stagnation state. Okay, and if you calculate this P naught present for the two conditions, theoretical isentropic stagnation state and actual stagnation state, so actual stagnation state P naught is lesser than the theoretical isentropic stagnation state, because in real life, whenever there is a flow of fluid molecules, definitely if it is flowing on a surface, it is acted upon by both the friction between the fluid molecules itself and as well as friction on which it is flowing. So both friction together acts and it retards the motion of the fluid molecule. So because of that, some energy is lost in overcoming this friction. So because of this reason, P naught actual will be less than P naught theoretically, which is isentropic stagnation state. But coming to the exact value of the H naught, so H naught remains the same even though P naught is lesser. So even though P naught is lesser, but whenever you are adiabatically stopping the flow, the stagnation process is approximated to be isentropic, and these properties are stagnation properties, and here the value of H naught remains to be same for P naught theoretical and P naught actual. You can see from the graph here. So P naught actually, it is found to be lesser than P naught, which is theoretical value, but in the range where we are considering the H naught, both found to be same, and this is the P static. Now, if you consider again the one-dimensional energy equation in another form in the sense, so we have written in the form of H equals to U plus V square by 2. So here we will consider H as H equals to CPT. And now if you write the one-dimensional energy equation taking CPT for stagnation region also, you can write instead of H naught, you can write it as Cp T naught. Okay, because Cp remains the same. So you cannot write Cp naught because Cp is same. So Cp T naught, because whenever you stop a flow, if it is incompressible, okay, no problem. But here our topic is compressible flows. So there is a sudden rise in temperature of the flow. So this temperature we are calling it as a stagnation temperature. So which we are representing with the symbol T naught. So here H naught equals to Cp T naught, and similarly H equals to Cpt, and velocity remains the same, v square by 2. Okay, so here if you take this Cp common on both sides, so T naught equals to plus v square by 2 Cp. So this is the equation which is one-dimensional form of energy equation. Here T naught is the stagnation temperature. Okay, here it represents the temperature that an ideal gas at when it is brought to rest adiabatically. And here v square by 2 Cp corresponds to the temperature rise and is called as dynamic temperature. And if you consider the previously whatever the equations we have considered in lecture 1, so those equations, if you take isentropic properties, so P naught by P equals to T naught by T to the power of K by K minus 1, where K is the ratio of specific heats, which we have already discussed. And similarly, rho naught by rho equals to T naught by T to the power of 1 by minus 1. And using these equations, so let us say the parameters T naught by T, P naught by P, rho naught by rho, etc. You can relate it to the Mach number. So we can bring down the Mach number into picture here, because as I already discussed in lecture 1, that Mach number indirectly represents the compressibility range of the flow. How much flow is getting compressed? Higher the Mach number, more is the compressibility of the flow. So we have to bring the Mach number into this equation. So that's why we are considering the properties T naught by T, P naught by P, and rho naught by rho. So taking the previous equation, so T naught by T naught equals to T plus V square by 2 Cp, and take T common on both sides. So divide the equation by T on both sides. So T naught by T equals to 1 plus V square by 2 Cpt. So we are getting the equation in this form. And here Cp we already discussed, which we can write in the form Cp equals to Kr by K minus 1 or gamma R by gamma minus 1. Okay, so if you take Cp like that, so here actually we don't, it is like 1 by Cp. So that's why we are writing it as 1 by Cp. So 1 by Cp equals to K minus 1 by Kr. Okay, so now you substitute this value in here, this equation here, we get in this form. So from this we can write T naught by T equals to 1 plus K minus 1 by 2 into V square by C square, because here we have KR or gamma RT. In the previous lecture we have derived the equation of sound. So sound velocity equation we have derived. So sound velocity equation is C square equals to KRT or K square equals to gamma RT. So we are bringing the sound velocity into this equation. So instead of KRT, we can write it as C square simply. Here already we have V square. So bring V square here and K minus 1 here. So K minus 1 by 2 and V square by C square. And according to the definition of Mach number, so V square by C square is M square. So we are representing, so V square by C square we are replacing with M square. So finally we have T naught by T equals to 1 plus K minus 1 by 2 into M square. So we induced Mach number into this ratio of temperatures. So which is here the ratio of temperature between stagnation to static. So stagnation temperature to static temperature ratio is this equation. Now similarly, if you consider the equations, other equations rho naught by rho and P naught by P, so you can you can bring that equation here. So you can bring the previous equation instead of T naught by T, you can bring this equation and substitute here. So it will be the value of rho naught by rho. Similarly, you can substitute here, it will be the equation for P naught by P. So we have values for rho naught by rho, P naught by P in terms of Mach number and as well as ratio of specific heats. So now slight change in this equation. Let us consider a sonic value. So sonic value means where m equals to 1. At region where the Mach number is 1. So that region we are calling it as a sonic location or sonic condition. And suppose if sonic condition exists, m equals to 1 exists, there we represent the properties with a asterisk symbol, star symbol, simply we can say star symbol. And for calorically perfect gas remains the same, for gamma will be 1.4. Okay, now just replace all the values where m is present with 1. So you substitute m equals to 1 and static properties will become will be represented with asterisk symbol. So instead of T, simply we will write it as T star. Instead of P, we will write P star. Instead of rho, we will write as rho star. So T star by T naught equals to, so m equals to 1 it will become. So m we are replacing 1, so we will get simply 2 by k plus 1. Again T is 1.4, so we will get a value of 0.8. Similarly, P star by P naught equals to 0.58 and rho star by rho naught equals to 0.633. We're going to use these values in our upcoming slides. Coming to the actual concept of a variable area duct. What is variable area duct? So duct is just like a pipeline, but without a constant area. So area is keep on changing throughout its length. So variable area duct. Duct in the sense it is just like a pipe. Okay. So now here if you take, for example, a converging diverging nozzle kind of, which you might have seen in your fluid mechanics laboratory, Venturi meter, which is just like a converging diverging nozzle. So where area decreases, remains same, and again starts increasing. Converging area, throat area where area remains constant, and again diverging area where cross sectional area keep on increasing. Now if a fluid is sent to this kind of variable area duct, how it behaves, what is its behavior? Okay, we know that according to Bernoulli's equation, which you might have derived in your low speed aerodynamics or AD1. So according to Bernoulli's equation, so all the three energies remain same within a fluid flow, provided again same condition, you should not add energy or you should not remove energy between the considered locations, location 1 and 2. Suppose if I am considering two locations 1 and 2, so what Bernoulli's equation says is, so within these two locations, so area may vary and anything may vary. Okay, suppose if you are not adding or not removing the energy, then the total energy at location 1 in the fluid flow should be equals to total energy in the location 2. Okay, energy in is equals to energy out. So what is the three forms of energy? So Bernoulli told that the energy of a flow can be existing in three forms. Okay, so one is kinetic energy, pressure energy, and datum energy. So the sum of kinetic energy plus pressure energy and datum energy remains constant in a fluid flow if between two locations, if you are not removing or not adding the energy. So here most of the cases for gaseous flows we don't consider the datum energy. Okay, so gaseous molecules already we discussed, they are not influenced by the gravitational force or datum level, so that's why we don't consider datum level for gaseous flows. So if you take Bernoulli's equations for gaseous flow, only two energies we will consider, one is kinetic energy, one is pressure energy. Okay, so now here datum is same. If you draw a center line along the axis of the nozzle here, it is same. So datum energy is not changing. So datum remains the same. So no need to consider datum here. Okay. According to the Bernoulli's equation, here the energies should remain same. Okay. So that is one concept we are considering. And another concept what we have to consider is the mass flow rate. Okay. Suppose a fluid flow is happening this variable area duct, so it should satisfy the continuity equation. Whatever mass is mass flow happening to the inlet per unit, so same amount of mass flow rate should happen through the outlet. Okay, m dot in is equals to m dot out. Okay, so that is the main consideration for a continuous flow, continuity flow. So if you want to maintain continuity, so m dot in should be equals to m dot out. Okay, so here what is the thing? During fluid flow through many devices such as nozzles, diffusers and turbine blade passages, flow quantities vary primarily in the flow direction only. So what is the reason why we are considering one dimensional flow? Okay, so generally if you take any flow through this nozzles, diffusers, so maximum flow properties are varying only in the flow direction. Okay, in that means suppose if a flow is happening from negative x to positive x, so flow properties will consider to be maximum varying in x direction. Other direction also will vary, but mathematically they are not going to influence our results in such a way. Okay, so for example, very lengthy pipe flow, if you consider, which is traveling for kilometers and kilometers, so maximum we will solve it in one dimensional to get a basic idea. Then further, if you require y-directional, then we will solve y-directional or radial direction. So whatever the direction we require additionally, so, but the first consideration is one dimensional. So maximum if you consider one dimensional, you will get all the results 95% accurately. Okay, so that's why one dimensional flows are very important for this flow happening through the ducts. Okay, so that's why here we are going to consider the one dimensional equations. Okay, so here we will start our consideration with mass flow equation. The mass flow through a duct is given by m dot equals to rho av. So if you say that this is a continuous flow which is satisfying the continuity equation, then m dot in should be equals to m dot out. That means m dot is constant. Okay, so m dot can be written as rho av, density into cross sectional area through which the flow is happening into the velocity present at that corresponding location. Okay, so now this equation you consider rho av equals to constant. You consider this part and take logarithm on both sides, and after that differentiate it, differentiate the equation. Then you will get the equation in this form. So d rho by rho a by a plus dv by v equals to 0, because differentiation of a constant is 0. Logarithm of a constant is again a constant, some number, and differentiation of a number is 0. Okay, so that's why RHS we are going to get 0. So now again recollect the concept of your low speed aerodynamics or AD1. So where we used Bernoulli's equation. So Bernoulli's equation came from Euler's equation. So what is Euler's equation? So Euler's equation is dp equals to minus rho v dv. So taking this equation only, we have derived Bernoulli's equation. So where we will say consider the density as constant value. So dp equals to minus rho v dv. Integrate it on both sides. So integral dp equals to minus rho into integral v dv. So p plus half rho v square equals to constant. So Bernoulli's equation is derived from this Euler's equation. This is Euler's equation, dp equals to minus rho v dv. Somehow bring this equation to the previous equation. So dA by a plus d rho by rho plus dv by v equals to 0 here. Okay, so you incorporate this Bernoulli's Euler's equation into this equation with this form: dA by a equals to dp by rho into 1 by v square minus d rho by dp. And later, so in previous derivation, the previous lecture, we have derived the equation for sound velocity. So in that we have m equals to d rho by dp. So here we are replacing the Mach number with d rho by dp. Okay, so now here Mach number ma, representing it as m subscript a here. Okay, we are replacing this one m subscript v square common. Now a by a equals to, change it like this, minus dv by v into 1 minus m a square, m square. Let's say it is simply m square. a by a equals to minus dv by v into 1 minus m square. So this is very important equation. Okay, so every mathematical equation conveys some meaning. So now here we have to analyze what is the meaning conveyed by this equation. So there is a lot of meaning involved in this equation. So what is that meaning? So the meaning is very, very important for fluid flows here. So now consider three situations. So we have read that there are majorly three kinds of flows exist: subsonic flow, supersonic flow, and hypersonic flow. And there are two other exceptionals, not exceptional, two other regions. So one is transonic flow, which we are not considering here, and another flow is a sonic flow where m equals to 1. So now we will consider majorly here three flows: subsonic flow, sonic flow, and supersonic flow. So what are the three conditions? M less than 1, subsonic flow; m equals to 1, sonic flow; and m greater than 1, supersonic flow. So three conditions we will consider here. Now we will just take the values of m here according to the three conditions, and we will observe what is the meaning conveyed by this equation. Okay. So first condition, let us say Mach number is less than 1. That means we are considering about subsonic flow region. Okay. Let us say we are in subsonic flow region. That is m is less than 1 or ma is less than 1 here. Okay. So m is less than 1. M is a very small value. Okay. Which is less than 1. Let us say 0.8, 0.7. And it is square. Already 0.7 is less value and square of it is far lesser value. And if you are if you subtract that far lesser value from 1, automatically you are going to get a value here which is again less than 1. It is a positive number. Remember, it may be 0.2, or anything, but it is a positive number. Okay. So finally, so some positive number here into minus dV by V. And what is on LHS? So finally, dA by A equals to minus dV by V into some number, positive number. Okay. Now let us leave this positive number. Now what is the meaning conveyed by this equation? dA by A equals to minus dV by V. So what is the meaning? So dA by A means rate of change of area with respect to area. dV by V means rate of change of velocity with respect to velocity. So here dA by A equals to minus dV by V. For a positive change of area, there should be a negative change of velocity. In what condition? When m is less than 1. For a positive change in area, dA by A, there should be minus dV by V. That means there should be a negative change in velocity. So now what is the meaning conveyed by this equation? So meaning conveyed by this equation in practical life is, if area is increasing, velocity should decrease. If velocity is increasing, area should decrease. So this has given the concept of a subsonic nozzle, converging nozzle. So take a converging nozzle. So a converging nozzle, for example, like this here is going. So since area is decreasing, so automatically the velocity increases at this point. So velocity with which entering here and which is leaving here will be different. That means it will be, since area is decreasing, velocity will increase, provided less than 1. Similarly, let us say a positive change in area. Positive change in area means negative change in velocity. So here, suppose let us say area is increasing. You are sending the flow here from here. So since area is positively changing, what happens as per the equation? There should be negative change in velocity. Okay. So velocity will decrease. So with whatever the velocity you sent at the inlet here, so you will get velocity lesser than whatever present here. Okay. So here, this area is decreasing. Negative change in area corresponds to positive change in velocity. So dA by A equals to minus dV by V. So one is negative, other should be positive. Okay. So in that way. Now we will see the condition m greater than 1. Let us say 1.2, 1.5, or let us say 2. Okay. M greater than 1. Let's say m equals to 2. m equals to 2 means here it will become 4. 1 minus 4. 1 minus 4 means negative number. So we are going to get a negative number. Negative into negative, positive. So you leave the number here. What is the meaning conveyed by equation? For a positive change in area, there should be a positive change in velocity. This is for what? M greater than 1. It means if you consider supersonic flows for m greater than 1 situation, if area is increased, velocity should also increase. Okay. So practical application, again, come back to this situation. So here area is increasing. What we are considering? M greater than 1 flow. Supersonic flow we are considering. So supersonic is passing through the inlet here. Let us say this is the inlet and this is the outlet. So a supersonic flow is going. So according to the equation, positive change in area is increasing, positive change in area. So velocity also should increase. Okay. So if a supersonic flow is going like this, positive change in area corresponds to positive change in velocity. Similarly, if supersonic flow goes in like this, so area is decreasing. So negative change in area corresponds to negative change in velocity. Okay. So if you send a supersonic flow like this, since area is decreasing, velocity also decreases. So V decreases. Okay. And you know from Bernoulli's equation that pressure energy and velocity, kinetic energy, pressure energy plus kinetic energy is equals to constant. Okay. If one increases, other has to decrease. Okay. Here in this example, I am saying V is increasing. So automatically P should decrease. Static pressure should decrease. V means it is indirectly Mach number. So V increases now, Mach number also increases. Okay. If pressure decreases, automatically temperature also decreases. Automatically density also decreases. So these are correlation. Okay. Just apply Bernoulli's equation. V increases. V increases means both are opposite. Pressure and velocity are opposite according to Bernoulli's equation. If V increases, automatically static pressure should decrease. Okay, according to Bernoulli's equation. The same is up here. V is decreasing, opposite P should increase. In turn, P increases, T increases. In similar way, you can correlate here also. Okay, so that is the meaning of these nozzles. So what are the nozzles we are using? So those are conveyed by another condition is left over. So that is sonic condition. When m equals to 1. So when flow is sonic, exactly sonic velocity, m equals to 1, what will happen to the equation? So m equals to 1. So m a equals to 1, that is m equals to 1. 1 square is 1. So 1 minus 1 into 1, 0. So dA by A equals to 0. RHS fully it will become 0. So that means rate of change of area with respect to area is 0. That means area is not changing. dA by A equals to 0 means area is not changing. Area is remaining constant. Okay. So when sonic velocity exists, definitely area should remain constant. That is the meaning conveyed by this equation. So then when this condition can exist. So now if you consider converging diverging nozzle, a converging diverging nozzle, if you send a flow, so here completely area is converging. So that means area is decreasing, and a place comes where the area becomes minimum. And for some region, some location, here the area is remaining constant. So this location is called throat. And after that again area starts increasing. So this location area is remaining constant. That means if you can send a fluid with sufficient pressure, then flow will achieve m equals to 1 at the throat, because at the throat the area is remaining constant. Okay, so we'll see in upcoming slide what is the corresponding explanation for that. Okay, now what is the practical example I can say here? Just observe these two figures here. So we have a turbofan engine here and we have a rocket engine here. Okay, just observe the nozzles. Okay, here if you take the turbofan engine, the nozzle is converging kind of nozzle. So after compressor, immediately we have a nozzle. No, sorry, after turbine, immediately we have a nozzle here. So which is exiting the jet here. So we have a converging nozzle here. Okay. Remember here we have a converging nozzle. And here you see rocket thruster here. So the rocket thruster, after the combustion chamber, we have the converging portion, and again throat here, and a very big diverging section. A very big diverging section. Now here, what is the practical difference between a turbofan engine nozzle and a rocket engine nozzle? So here comes the application. Okay. So this equation is why the nozzles are different like this. Here, if you take the turbofan engine, so whatever I have shown the figure here is high bypass ratio turbofan engine. So they are meant for delivering the aircraft with subsonic velocities, m less than 1 condition. Okay. So m less than 1 condition can be obtained easily with converging nozzle. So that means converging nozzle means you see m less than 1 condition if you substitute. So as area decreases, velocity increases. Area decreases, velocity increases. It's possible with converging nozzle. Area decreases, velocity increases. What maximum velocity we can get? If you have a sufficient pressure ratio here, the maximum velocity you can get here is m equals to 1. M equals to 1 you can get it, if provided if you have sufficient pressure ratio and sufficient mass. This way, here, since we are not going beyond sonic range, maximum velocity, what we need is just converging nozzle. Okay, but come to the rocket nozzle or rocket thruster. So where we need supersonic velocities, we need. Okay, so for supersonic velocities, get supersonic velocity only have supersonic, sending it into increasing area, automatically further it will increase. So the maximum velocity with a converging portion we can get is m equals to 1, and m equals to 1 is possible only at the throat, and slightly if you can raise m equals to 1 to 1.1, so that 1.1 flow, if you send it to a diverging section, automatically you can get a very high supersonic diverging section. That means in order to generate supersonic isentropically, it definitely converging diverging nozzle with a throat. Okay, so this combination is called D-level nozzle, converging diverging nozzle. If you attach with a constant area portion which is throat, so this entire set of nozzle is D-level nozzle. So isentropically, if you want a supersonic flow, definitely the supersonic flow, if you want to get it, the flow should have positive. Otherwise, it's not possible. I'm telling condition isentropically. Otherwise, you can get it. In other ways, there are a lot of other ways which you can discuss also in upcoming discussions we'll have. Provided here I'm talking only isentropically. So isentropically, if you want, you need diverging nozzle. Otherwise, it's not possible. So it's concluded that since rockets travel at very high Mach numbers, range of supersonic Mach numbers, so they do need a converging diverging nozzle. And mostly passenger aircrafts travel in the transonic regions, mostly at 0.8, 0.9 maximum. So they require only converging nozzle. Okay, so that's why you can see converging nozzles in turbofan engines and converging diverging nozzles in. This is system you can observe clearly. You can observe when you see an aircraft, when you see a rocket launch, you can observe the nozzles. So this is the difference. Why this difference is? So the explanation is this equation. This equation is telling us change the area accordingly. Okay, so in using whatever the way you want, whatever the Mach, And now once we have converging diverging nozzles, then simply can we get a supersonic flow through it easily? If you send any flow just through a converging diverging nozzle, can you get a supersonic flow? Not possible, not at all possible. So for example, you take your fluid mechanics lab, you have a venturimeter, you are sending water flow through it. Are you getting a supersonic velocity of water at the exit? Are you getting? We are not getting. We are not getting a supersonic velocity for a venturimeter. Then we have discussed that if you have a CD nozzle, we get supersonic flow, but in fluid mechanics lab, we have a venturimeter where CD nozzle is available through which we are sending water, but still we are not getting. In all the times, it is not possible. In all the times, it is not possible. So which requires, if you want to get a supersonic flow by using converging diverging nozzle, certain condition has to be satisfied. Okay, certain conditions has to be satisfied. Now if you take a CD nozzle, suppose let us say you are getting a supersonic flow. Okay, if you are getting a supersonic flow, then how the flow velocity will be at different regions. Okay, in the converging portion, definitely the flow velocity will be less than less than Mach 1. Okay, and at throat it will be equals to 1. Exactly, theoretically I am speaking, theoretically it will be equals to 1. Okay, and in the diverging portion, slowly the Mach number increases, reaches supersonic condition, and it will be exiting in the form of a jet with supersonic velocity. When this can be possible? Okay, when this, here forcing a fluid to a CD nozzle does not guarantee a supersonic velocity. Requires back pressure. You need to maintain some pressure, and that pressure drives the flow with the required mass flow rate. So what is the main consideration is m dot. So m dot is very, very important for this nozzle. This much m dot will give you the supersonic flow. There is some consideration, so you need to maintain that m dot. In order to maintain that m dot, when the flow will flow, so any fluid flow will happen only when there is a pressure difference. So you should maintain corresponding pressure difference between inlet and outlet to get that m dot value. So you require an m dot value which will give you the supersonic flow, but in order to get that m dot value, you need to maintain difference of pressure between inlet and outlet. Otherwise it is not possible. In all the times, simply you cannot get supersonic converging diverging nozzle. It also requires some conditions. So let us calculate, let us formulate an equation, let us derive an equation for mass flow rate through this converging diverging nozzle. Okay, so let us say the fluid is steady flow. We are always considering steady flow. Some steady flow is happening through this converging diverging nozzle, and let us say m dot in equals to m dot out. That means throughout the nozzle m dot is same everywhere, every location throughout the nozzle m dot is same, and m dot equals to rho av. Okay, now let us say a location is existing where suddenly the flow is stopped. Okay, so let us say, for example, so if you consider like that, then you can write one dimensional energy equation like this: h naught equals to h plus v square by 2. Okay, so from that, if you v equals to root of h naught minus h, further it can be changed into cp to root of cp, which is common, cp t naught minus t, because it's cp t. So you can take cp common, t naught minus t. This, if you take t naught common, so it become v equals to root of 2 cp t naught into 1 minus t by t naught. And t by t naught, we have already isentropic relations. So if you use that isentropic relation, you can change it in the form of pressure, or you can change it in the form of density. Okay, so again come back to the m dot, mass flow rate. So rho av, so rho can be replaced like this: rho naught into rho by rho naught. So rho naught cancels. Again, we will get rho AV. So rho we are replacing like this, rho naught into rho by rho naught, and rho by rho naught can be written like this, P by P naught into the power of 1 by K. And here, what instead of rho naught, let us substitute the equation of start, which is P naught by RT naught. Equation of state is P equals to RT. So P equals to rho RT. So instead of pressure P, static pressure P, we have a stagnation pressure P naught. So P naught equals to R remains the same for all the conditions. So R into rho into RT naught. Okay, rho naught into RT naught. So P naught equals to rho naught into RT naught. Okay, so now rho naught equals to P naught by RT naught. So now substitute all the values in the previous equation. These whatever we have used. So you substitute all these values in this equation. So T by T naught, it is replaced by P by P naught, and for P by P naught, you use the equation of state, and finally you are going to get an equation for m dot in this format. In between, some 3 to 4 steps are there. You can try them. In between, some 3 to 4 steps, definitely require 3 to 4 steps to get this form. Okay. You try the steps, and final equation will be this one. So this is the mass flow rate through the nozzle. Okay, so this is m dot, and now I told if you change the pressure between inlet and outlet, so that will guide the m dot. Okay, so that's why in the end equation you can see maximum it is P naught and T naught. Okay, so these two parameters are mainly deciding the m dot along with the area. So how much area, cross-sectional area of the nozzle is there. So bigger the nozzle, we have bigger m dot. Okay, so now you will get various m dot values for various pressure ratios between inlet and outlet. Okay, so mass flow rate through nozzle changes according to the pressure variation applied, but a state is reached even after increasing the pressure difference across the inlet and outlet of the nozzle. M dot cannot be increased. So you are continuously increasing the pressure difference between inlet and outlet. So the flow velocity increases and reaches a certain point. That means m dot. I'm not talking about flow velocity. I'm talking about m dot. So m dot increases and a state is reached where the m dot value is saturated. Saturated means that's all. That is the maximum value fixed. Even after that, if you decrease, or if you just maintain the pressure difference more and more, if you maintain the pressure difference, once m dot is saturated, it will not increase thereafter, even after if you are maintaining very high pressure difference. Okay, and this condition is said to be choking of nozzle. Choking of nozzle. Choking of the nozzle means the nozzle is completely occupied, completely choked, filled. Okay, there is no more possibility of accommodating more fluid. There is no more possibility. It is maximum. So this condition is called m dot maximum, and this condition is called choking of the nozzle, represented by m dot max. So m dot max means nozzle is choked. Thereafter, there is no increment of m dot. That is the maximum possible m dot for that nozzle. Remember, each nozzle will have a different m dot max. Okay, so for that nozzle, this is, let us say, one value is m dot max. So that is the m dot max. More than that, you cannot increase the m dot value. More than that, it's not at all possible to increase. Okay, now what is the importance? So previously we have derived m dot equation here. Okay, so with various pressure ratios, we'll have different m dot. Now let us say m dot is reached to the maximum limit, choked condition. Choked condition. When m dot is reached choked condition, what is the indication is at the throat you will get a sonic flow. When m dot is maximum, what is the indication is you can just simply measure and say that m dot, the Mach number at the throat is 1. So such a condition when exists at the throat, you can say that is m dot max. Okay, now we will change this equation such that we will get m dot max. Okay, so now what is the indication? So when m dot becomes maximum, m dot max, then at the throat of a CD nozzle or at the exit of converging nozzle. So converging nozzle exit is the throat of that CD nozzle, okay? Or converging diverging nozzle, if you take, you will have a particular region called throat where the cross sectional area is constant. So unit Mach number exists. Okay, Mach number becomes 1. That is MA equals to 1. And cross sectional area at the corresponding location where MA equals to 1 can be represented as A equals to A star. That means throat area for this condition we are representing, instead of A, we are using the symbol A star. Okay. Now just apply these conditions in the previous m dot equation and change m dot as m dot max. Now the equation will be modified like this. So the maximum mass flow rate through a nozzle with a given cross-sectional area A star is fixed by P naught and T naught and occurs when MA equals to 1. So when MA equals to 1, A will become A star and m dot will become m dot max. That is the maximum possible mass flow rate through that nozzle. So this is the maximum value. A star into P naught root of K by RT naught into 2 by K plus 1 to the power of K plus 1 by 2 into K minus 1. So this is the maximum mass flow rate for a given CD nozzle. And previous equation is just, it is a mass flow rate equation. Okay, but it is not the maximum mass flow rate, just a mass flow rate equation. Now take these two equations, m dot equation and m dot max equation. Take these two equations and divide one by another. Okay, m dot by m dot max on LHS equals to that corresponding RHS terms, one divided by other equation. Then if you do like that and take A by A star to the left side, take A by A star to the left side, then the equation will change like this. So we'll get a new value. A by A star equals to 1 by m into 2 by K plus 1 into 1 by K minus 1 by m square 1 by 2 into m square to the whole power of K plus 1 by 2 into K minus 1. So it is the next important equation. So what is the meaning conveyed by this equation? So if you understand clearly, is the area at the exit of the nozzle. Let us say A is the area at the exit of the nozzle, A star area at the throat. And RHS terms, you see, there are only terms are present on the RHS. The equation on the RHS will have having only two terms, M and K. Okay, and we know that K is the ratio of specific heats, and if you consider calorically perfect gas, K is constant. K is constant. So on the RHS side, there will be only one equation. There is only one equation on RHS side. Sorry, only on one term on RHS side, that is M. And here RHS K by A star. So what this equation is, what is the meaning of this equation, this mathematical form? So what it says is, consider RHS. So on the RHS, just neglect K. There is only one term. Mach number of a nozzle depends upon only value ratio of A by A star. It depends upon the ratio of A by A star. So if you want a nozzle for a particular Mach number, so you want to have a particular A by A star value. Otherwise, you cannot get Mach number because no other terms are involved on LHS side. LHS side, there is only one value A by A star. And RHS side, if K is considered to be constant, K is constant for calorically perfect gas. Okay, K is constant, so only Mach number. So RHS Mach number and LHS only A by A star. So what it says, Mach number for an flow which is happening isentropically depends only on A by A star, not any other factor. Okay, so suppose if you want to design a nozzle with M equals to 2, just maintain corresponding A by A star for that nozzle. A is it area where you will get M equals to 2. A star is this meaning conveyed by this equation. Meaning conveyed by this equation. We may think that if you have a converging diverging nozzle, more and more pressure if you have between inlet and outlet, the Mach number keeps on increasing, keeps on increasing. Again, it is not correct. Mach number for a particular nozzle is a constant. Constant in the sense maximum Mach number is a constant value. On what it depends? Depends on by A star. Okay. So to vary the pressure between inlet and outlet, Mach number keeps on increasing and it reaches the design Mach number value of that nozzle. Once it reaches the design Mach number of that value of that nozzle, after that if you keep on increasing the pressure between inlet and outlet, you cannot get any variation in Mach number. It is not at all possible. Mach number will remain the same. Once the design Mach number of the corresponding nozzle is reached, whatever the pressure difference you apply beyond that value, it is a waste. You are going to get the same Mach number. Okay, so Mach number for a particular nozzle is only on A by A star. And if you plot the graph between A by A star value and M, you are going to get this value. You can substitute this graph into two regions, subsonic region and supersonic hypersonic region. Okay, and subsonic region, this graph doesn't play a major role because any nozzle, any converging nozzle, if you take the maximum Mach number of any converging nozzle, you can get it as M equals to 1. But only how much pressure you are applying varies. For any converging nozzle, maximum Mach number can be 1. So that's why less than one side, this graph doesn't have that much importance. Greater than one side, this graph has a lot of importance. That means if you want to get a supersonic 10 Mach, you need to follow A by A star value. Otherwise, you not get the corresponding Mach number. Okay, so wherever you are exiting the nozzle, for example, I want to design a nozzle with M equals to 2. So let us say this is inlet and this is now I want to get M equals to 2. So this area is A and this area is star. So M equals to 2. How much if I substitute on RH side? What is the number I am getting? That A by A star, I need only I will get M equals to 2 for the given pressure value. For the given pressure value. Pressure also it depends at what pressure you are getting. But for a particular nozzle, I told no, once you reach the design max, after how much pressure you increase, further increment is not possible. Further increment is not at all possible. Once you reach the design max nozzle, that is the maximum. So that's what we are going to discuss in this slide. Let us say that we have a converging diverging nozzle. Now we discussed inlet pressure. Let us say pressure at the inlet is stagnation pressure and pressure at the outlet is various conditions, or different conditions. Now any fluid flow will happen only when there is a pressure difference. Okay, so fluid flow will happen from higher pressure to lower pressure value. Okay, so suppose if inlet pressure and outlet pressure both are equal, if not equal to PA, pressures are equal, inlet pressure is equal to inlet pressure is stagnation pressure not and outlet pressure let us say PA. So both are equal. Then what happens? There is no flow. Since both regions pressure is same, there is no flow. Now at the outlet, increased pressure slightly to a value PB, P capital B. Now there is a pressure difference. So because of the pressure difference, what happens? So flow passes this nozzle. How it passes? Here the area is decreasing. Okay. For M less than 1 condition, what we decided, area decrement in area corresponds to increment in velocity. So what happens? Slowly increment in velocity means decrement in pressure. According to Bernoulli's equation, it is the opposite. Since velocity increases, so pressure decreases. Here still the pressure comes to the constant area portion, throat portion, velocity remains same. Then again it is seeing the diverging area. Diverging area means area is increasing. So what happens? Pressure is decreasing. Pressure is decreasing means according to Bernoulli's equation. So velocity is decreasing means according to Bernoulli's equation, pressure should increase. Is increasing here. Okay. So both equations you need to consider. One is nozzle equation and one is Bernoulli's equation. Because here we are discussing in terms of pressure. Okay. So first, according to nozzle equation, subsonic flow decrement in area corresponds to increment in velocity. So increment in velocity means increment in pressure. So slowly velocity is increasing. That means pressure is decreasing up to here. Then after coming to throat, is encountering an area where area is increasing for nozzle. Okay, so area increment is there. So increment in area corresponds to again decrement in velocity. So velocity is decreasing. Velocity is decreasing. Pressure is. Other condition we are considering where PB equals to PC. A condition, let us say we are using a value of pressure PC, which is equal to pressure PB. Okay, which is back pressure, let us say back pressure. Where PB we are representing with a PB. So we reached a condition PC. Now pressure is far lower than P naught. Far lower than P naught. Now what happens? The flow increases, velocity increases, and it touches sonic velocity condition. Sonic velocity condition, the properties are represented with asterisk symbol. So that's why here P is represented with P star. So we reach sonic condition. Here after sonic condition, pressure is not sufficient. So what happens? It is encountering again diverging area. So diverging area means sufficient. Once it is short, so because of if you are not maintaining, still you have to maintain more increment in pressure. Suppose if you are not maintaining that pressure because of the friction in throat, automatically the velocity just touches 0.95. It's enough. If it is touching 0.95, you can call it as a subsonic flow. So once it is 0.95, so it is subsonic. Seeing an increment in area, automatically velocity will decrease. So automatically velocity will decrease means pressure will increase and reach the point. Has the sonic, but still exit we are getting subsonic flow. How to get a supersonic flow? Now still you increase the pressure difference such that you reach a condition of PE. Okay, you reach a condition of far decrement in pressure. So you reduce the pressure drastically. Now what happens? The flow velocity increases. Yes, again one foot, and still it is pressure is sufficient enough to hit very high speed. So flow is increasing and reaching supersonic condition. It has reached supersonic. Once it is reached supersonic, we have a problem here called shock waves. So that we will discuss in upcoming chapters, upcoming topics. So because of formation of shock, what happens? All the energy is lost, and again suddenly it will become subsonic, and again its pressure increases. Now what happens? Still you reduce the pressure difference. Still you reduce the pressure difference drastically. What happens in the next case? Your value of pressure is such that so the pressure is drastically reduced. What happens now? The flow reaches Mach number 1 at the throat, and it is continuing, and nicely and exits with sonic velocity. This is the condition where you are going to get. So here we have corresponding Mach number supersonic location. Okay, so this way there is certain pressure values which will tell you when you will get supersonic flow through a converging diverging nozzle. Simply you cannot get supersonic flow through a convergent diverging nozzle. It always requires certain amount of pressure. Certain amount of pressure always it requires. So that minimum pressure value we need to maintain to get supersonic flow across this converging diverging nozzle. And another problem is once you reach the supersonic flow, you are not happy. So we have another problem called generation of shock waves. So shock waves will be generated and they will disturb a flow enormously such that the flow Mach number reduces. Sometimes again the flow Mach number drastically reduces to a subsonic value, a minimum subsonic value. So that also difficulties are there. So those difficulties we are going to discuss in upcoming topics. Now, another important discussion. Once the flow Mach number is 1, so we have derived certain equations. In the isentropic equation, substituted m equals to 1 and corresponding properties we represented with asterisk symbol. Same properties, if once the flow Mach number is 1 at the throat, so whatever the previous equation values you have got it, those will be satisfied. M equals to 1. Okay. So what is the corresponding P star by P naught? So it is 0.528. It is satisfied. And what is corresponding T star by T naught? It is satisfied. What is the corresponding rho star by rho naught? It is satisfied. So once is sonic at the throat, whatever the isentropic values we have derived in the previous slides, those values, numericals, are perfectly satisfied theoretically. Okay, they will be satisfied. And you can see the corresponding increment, corresponding decrement curves. Okay, so definitely those values will be satisfied. There is no doubt in that theoretically. Okay, equations wise, if you just calculate and it, practically there are a lot of difficulties: boundary layer formation, shock, boundary layer formation, pressure losses, frictional losses. But theoretically, these values will be satisfied once you say m equals to 1 at the throat. Okay. Now, another very important condition for the flow happening through a variable area duct. This topic I'm just giving an introduction, and further detail we will discuss while we are talking about the shock waves and expansion waves. Okay. Now, once you push the flow with very high pressure, so you will get certain kind of jet pattern. So now, in the jet pattern, there are certain conditions. So we have, if you have nozzle, its length is very high, nozzle length is very high, what happens? All the flow will expand inside the nozzle. The flow comes out very weak energy, not much energy, very weak it comes out. That means it loses all its pressure. It loses all its pressure inside, and it comes out very difficultly. It comes out because outside pressure, which is back pressure, is higher than pressure of the jet. Pressure is higher than the exit jet pressure. This condition is called overexpanded nozzle. This condition is called overexpanded. All the flow has expanded inside the nozzle itself, and its pressure became far less than the back pressure or atmospheric pressure. And because of that far less pressure, what happens once the flow started coming out, immediately forms shock waves. Shock waves, what it will do, it will raise the pressure and makes the flow comes out somewhat comfortably. Okay. Otherwise, without this formation, pressure is low, the atmospheric pressure is high. What happens? We know that flow happens only from higher pressure to lower pressure. So because of that, what happens? Some vertices are formed here. So the curling reverse flow region will. Those things not possible in high speed. So how they will compensate this? You compensate this one by creation of shock waves. Shock waves are created, say, two-dimensional nozzle, or it is symmetric nozzle. If we have a shock conical shock pattern will be formed, and this pattern will raise the pressure of the corresponding jet such that it comes out comfortably. And this condition is called overexpanded condition. Okay. And another condition we have underexpanded condition. What is underexpanded condition? In underexpanded condition, here, if you consider this nozzle, what happens? Has lot of pressure in it, has not expanded properly inside the nozzle, and it comes out with very high pressure and starts expanding after the nozzle. So because of that, what happens? Series of expansion waves are formed exit of the nozzle. Series of expansion waves. We are saying shock wave is a single wave. Expansion waves we are saying. So expansion waves always will happen as a group of waves, not single. So expansion waves will form and the flow will expand enormously after the nozzle exit. After the exit. So here the jet pressure is more than the outside pressure. Outside pressure is back pressure or ambient pressure. Such a condition is called under expanded nozzle. The nozzle has not expanded properly, so it is under expanded nozzle. And another condition we have where jet pressure is perfectly equals to outside pressure or ambient pressure or back pressure. So PE, such a condition, perfect come out and it will be very comfortable in coming out. Okay, and such a condition is called optimum expanded nozzle. Optimum expanded nozzle. These are very important. Have a clear discussion in the shock waves and expansion waves. Now, various jet patterns if you see rock see during launching time, so you can easily identify whether it is under expanded, over expanded, or optically expanded. Under expanded condition, I have already told that jet will not expand inside the nozzle. Instead, it will come out of the nozzle and it will start expanding outside the nozzle. So because of that, what happens once jet starts expanding, jet diameter will be bigger than the nozzle diameter. So such a condition is called under expanded condition. The jet comes out of the nozzle and it will start expanding the nozzle. So here jet diameter will be bigger than the diameter of the nozzle. So here very high pressure, somewhat medium range pressure, somewhat low pressure, but all the three are under expanded condition because the jet diameter is higher than the nozzle diameter. The jet started coming out of the nozzle and expanding beyond the nozzle. That's why jet takes a diameter bigger than the diameter of the nozzle. So it is highly under expanded condition. It is moderately under expanded condition and it is slightly under expanded condition, but all the three are under expanded. In over expanded condition, so what happens? The flow expands maximum inside the nozzle itself and it feels very difficult to come out. So in that condition, it comes out in a very lean way, very thin way. That means it occupies a diameter, jet occupies a diameter less than the diameter of the nozzle. So such a condition is called over expanded condition. It is moderately over expanded. It is highly over expanded. Jet diameter is not even half of the nozzle diameter. Okay, so flow separation will happen here. Recirculation zones will form. Okay, so these are the problems with over expanded nozzles. So over expanded jet diameter will be less than the diameter of the nozzle, and optimum expanded condition, jet diameter will be perfectly equals to nozzle diameter, and this is very rarest of rare. Very rarely it is possible, provided if that nozzle is constantly at the same pressure or same atmospheric pressure. So this is very rarest of rare conditions. Most of the time we will see that nozzle is in this under expanded condition, because in under expanded condition only, since the jet is expanding beyond the nozzle, during its expansion pressure, it will push the nozzle. That means it will induce the thrust into the nozzle. So this is the most preferred condition during launching of rockets, or you can see even same for the condition applies for even converging nozzles also. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Flow variable area ducts. These are my references. You can contact me for any doubts. Thank you all. Thank you for your patient listening.